Once upon a time, deep within a bamboo forest, there was a small cottage. The walls were made of smooth river stones and the roof was thatched with dried leaves. And inside this humble abode lived an old woman. His head filled with dreams and his heart, well, his heart was aching. He had recently lost his beloved grandmother. You see, she, too, had once had a loving grandmother who had passed away. Back then, she had been just a girl, and her pain was so unbearable that her heart turned to stone. When Kai woke up, the dull ache in his chest was gone. He sat up in bed, surprised. Then he got up and walked to the woman's room. She wasn't there. On the table, however, was a small bowl filled with water and a single white flower. As Kai stared at it, he remembered the day before when the woman had touched his forehead. Could she have healed him somehow? Was this flower a symbol of his grandmother's spirit, a sign that she was no longer suffering? Tears welled up in his eyes as he realized that he had found peace. His grandmother might be gone, but her love, her spirit, it was still there, and it was enough to help him heal. She refused to feel anything, burying herself in work and avoiding any semblance of emotion. But looking at Kai, she saw a younger version of herself. He took the flower with him, its petals soft and cool to the touch, reminding him of the day his grandmother had passed. But now there was a new feeling in his heart, gratitude. Gratitude for the woman who had helped him, for the pain that had pushed him to seek help, and for his grandmother who would always hold a special place in his heart. The Buddha was right, pain is certain, but suffering is optional. Kai had chosen to suffer, to let his grief consume him. But when he reached out for help, when he allowed the pain to transform him, he found peace. And so she invited him in, offering him tea and a place to stay. And the pain was so intense that he could barely function. As days turned into weeks, he found himself unable to study, to read or write. All he could do was walk. And that's how he found himself at the doorstep of the Stone Heart Woman. She wasn't just any woman. She was known as the Stone Heart Woman, because of the strange, unbreakable pendant she wore around her neck. Why, you ask? It looked like a jagged piece of rock, cold and unfeeling, just like her heart. Or so everyone thought. One crisp autumn day, a young man named Kai stumbled upon her cottage. He was a wandering scholar. Hearing his tale, the woman felt a pang in her chest, a feeling she hadn't experienced in decades. For weeks, Kai did nothing but mope. He refused to eat much, and whenever the memory of his grandmother surfaced, he would break down. The woman watched him, her heart clenching with each sob. Then one evening, when the moon hung like a silver coin in the sky, she finally spoke. "Why do you suffer so much?" she asked, her voice raspy from disuse. Kai looked up, startled. He had been so lost in his grief that he hadn't noticed the old woman approach. "Because I miss her," he whispered, tears welling up. "I miss my grandmother." The woman nodded, understanding. She knew that feeling all too well. "But you can't keep living like this," she said, stepping closer. "You have to find a way to move forward." Kai shook his head, his eyes downcast. "How can I? My heart is broken." At those words, the woman reached out and touched his forehead. It wasn't a comforting gesture. It was sharp, sudden, and unexpected. Kai recoiled as if burned, his eyes wide with surprise. "What was that for?" he asked, his voice tight. The woman didn't answer. Instead, she walked back to her room, leaving Kai more confused than before. But the next morning, something strange happened. That day, Kai left the cottage feeling lighter than he had in weeks. Her name was Eliza. She was 31 years old and lived in a cute little bookstore in Portland, Oregon. They talked about marriage, about a house by the coast, about naming their dog together. And then one evening everything shattered. He confessed that there had been someone else for months. He was sorry, but not enough to stay. She loved poetry and every morning she would make tea with orange peel and cinnamon. When the heart breaks open, a Buddhist perspective. Again and again, week after week. A calm voice said, "When the heart breaks, let it break fully. It may be the first time you truly see inside." In agony, she went to the Buddha and begged him to bring her son back to life. It was part of being human. The Buddha asked her to find a mustard seed from a house that had never known death. She searched everywhere, barefoot on the grass. She'd whisper a mantra she heard in a Dharma talk. This is how the heart learns to open, not in spite of pain, but through it. If you like this story, you might also enjoy another short about a woman who finds solace in nature. Thank you for watching and see you next time. But every door she knocked on had seen loss. She returned empty-handed, but with open eyes. She understood, suffering was not hers alone. She began writing poetry again, not about him, but about herself. She made peace with the silence. It was the thread that binds us all. Something in that line struck her. Not as comfort, but as a mirror. She didn't cry. She'd lie in bed and replay every moment, blaming herself, wondering what she lacked. Not right away. She just sat there like a candle that had burned too long, now only flickering smoke. For the last 6 years, she had been in a relationship. But now she had a container for her pain. It wasn't a meaningless mess anymore. It was a lesson. Each breath was a reminder, this too shall pass. Eliza didn't scream. The weeks that followed were numb. She stopped showing up to the bookstore. She wouldn't answer the phone. One afternoon, while scrolling aimlessly through YouTube, she landed on a video titled, She began to search. She found a small meditation group in town. She sat in the back, nervous, skeptical. But she stayed. One of the first teachings she heard was this: all that arises passes away. Including this. Eliza didn't suddenly feel better. One evening during a silent retreat, her teacher told a story from the sutras. A woman named Kisa Gautami lost her only child. That night Eliza cried, not from despair, but from understanding. Her pain wasn't unique. It wasn't punishment. So she started walking. Every morning, just 10 minutes at first. She volunteered at a local animal shelter. Eliza didn't get her old life back. But she got something deeper. She got herself. This story is inspired by the author's own journey and the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh. Pain, like an acupuncture needle, pierces deep. It's sharp. It's sudden. But it also points us inward, where healing begins. A path. A practice. The path is here, and it is open to all who walk it with sincerity. So what can you do now? Just one thing. Take a deep breath. Place your hand on your heart. And whisper, I'm still here. So let's get real honest for a moment. What are you avoiding? What are you afraid to feel? Shame, grief, disappointment, anger? What would happen if you turned toward it? If you stopped running from it? It's letting go of resentment, bitterness, anger, the desire for revenge. It's not condoning or excusing what happened. It's recognizing that what happened happened and accepting it. Accepting it and moving on. It's not forgetting. It's not denying. It's acknowledging and embracing the truth. So what can you do now? Just one thing. Take a deep breath. Place your hand on your heart. Sometimes it's a breath. Sometimes it's the choice to stay. Stay with yourself. Because what hurts you can also heal you. And whisper, I'm still here. Then take one small step towards stillness. Maybe sit in silence for 5 minutes. Or write a letter to yourself. Or walk slowly through your neighborhood, noticing the wind, the trees, the sky. Your truth. What would happen if you looked at it, really looked at it? You don't have to. You get to. How? How can you be so calm when the world is so chaotic? When there is so much pain and suffering? But what if you could see everyone, including yourself, as a divine work in progress? What if you could see everyone, including yourself, as inherently good, even if they make mistakes, even if they're imperfect, even if they hurt? You're not perfect, but you're perfectly beautiful. You're not flawless, but you're wonderfully unique. You're not better than anyone else. You're radically equal. You're not above anything. You're deeply human. And being human is enough. Well, here's the thing, you don't have to be born a Buddha. You get to be one. You get to cultivate compassion, not just for others, but for yourself too. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the one who experiences them. You are the one who chooses how to respond. You are the one who creates your reality. You get to see what it's made of. Then take one small step towards stillness. Maybe sit in silence for 5 minutes. Or write a letter to yourself. Or walk slowly through your neighborhood, noticing the wind, the trees, the sky. A transformation. So if you're hurting, really hurting, don't rush to escape it. Don't cover it up with noise, distractions, or blame. Sit with it. Breathe into it. Ask what it wants to teach you. The Buddha never promised a life without suffering. He promised a way through it. Maybe your heart isn't breaking down. Maybe it's breaking open. And from that opening, a softer version of you may rise. One that sees pain not as the enemy, but as the teacher. You are not alone, the Buddha might have said. Healing isn't always loud. It doesn't wear a cape or make grand speeches. Sometimes, healing looks like a tear falling quietly. Sometimes, it's a breath. Sometimes, it's the choice to stay. Stay with yourself. Because what hurts you can also heal you. When we grow up, we realize they don't. They're just people trying their best to get by. And maybe that's the first step. Realizing you're human, you're allowed to mess up, to make mistakes, to be imperfect. When we realize this, we can start to forgive others and ourselves. We cannot turn away from pain. We cannot turn away from ourselves. Eventually, we must face what's inside. When we're little, we think adults have all the answers. Forgiveness isn't easy. It's not a one-time thing. It's a practice. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's easy to blame others, to point the finger. So let's sit in that truth. Let's rest in it. Let's breathe into it. Let's embrace it. Healing isn't always loud. It doesn't wear a cape or make grand speeches. Sometimes healing looks like a tear falling quietly.